Thanks again. I don't know if everybody's aware, but Dave Edwards and I have taken over as co-RDOs for SERRS. So we've been talking for the last probably 2 months trying to figure out what kind of things we're going to try and do. And our major plan is that we want to start small, and we want to make promises that are small and sustainable, and create a program that can be handed off to someone else, and they can also continue to maintain the things that we started. So we're just going to kind of talk through what our ideas are and let everybody know what page we're on. For anybody who's newer on the call, Nigel is the allocations officer for SERRS, and he asks for unavailability for the fall season. That time is here. If you don't give Nigel your unavailability, you will not be assigned. If you are not assigned matches, we can't come and watch you referee and help you get better. So turn your unavailability in to Nigel. And the other thing, big thing right now, SIPs are due. So you do have to go and SIP with USA Rugby to be a member in good standing with SERRS. So that's awesome. So stop me if we have questions, just jump in, take yourself off mute and speak. But when we're looking at the referee development program and how we're going to assign coaches to things, I think a lot of times referee development programs focus on the upper level referees. And what we are going to do is focus on newer referees and try to get everybody sort of to the same standard, right? So for that reason, all C3 and C4 full-time referees will be coached once in both the spring and the fall. So that's our priority. Then any full-time referee who's not a C3 or 4, so if you're a C2, a C1, a B panel, and you would like to be coached, please reach out to us and let us know so that we can schedule you before we start just randomly picking people to go coach, because, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so in a long time. That's who I'm going to go see. If, Jack has called me and said, hey, Amanda, I'd like to work with you, I'll work with him first. If we're unable to coach you, then we will be fully transparent and have some sort of plan in place to let you know when we will be able to see you. Another thing we're going to commit to is that new referees will not go to the pitch alone for their first 2 matches. One of the primary ways we'll probably do that is pairing them A side and B side with a senior ref, not necessarily a coach. Another thing we're going to try to do, I don't know if we will achieve this 100% of the time, but any tournament with more than 6 refs is going to get a referee coach at it. And then just in general, if I have a weekend and I've got 3 coaches, then what I'm going to look at is, if you've been a ref less than 5 years, you're going to have priority. Referees who make themselves available 50% of the weekends or more will have priority. Like if you're only reffing 1 or 2 weekends, I'm going to pick the guy who's reffing 6 weekends. And then finally, referees who identify themselves as needing promotion. So again, if you reach out to me and you say, hey, I've been a C2 for 5 years, I'm ready to move up, what can we do? Then I'm going to try to work with you. And again, full transparency if we're unable to do that for you. Does anybody have questions about those things? Are we pretty good there? Awesome.
I have a comment, yes. Amanda.
Please, speak up.
Only 3 people so far have not turned in their unavailability.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I've pretty much heard from everyone.
That's awesome. Good job, SERRS people. They're very proud of you right now.
I will send you the spreadsheet when I get off the phone tonight.
Super.
So you have a copy of it as well.
Cool. Great. All right. Moving along. So these are the deliverables that Dave and I came up with our program. We absolutely 100% promise these things to you guys this season. We're doing the preseason learning module right now. This is going to be a webinar on focus areas after I get done yammering about my program. We will do a referee coach preseason meeting, and that's for the referee coaches to sort of calibrate and get on the same page and talk about the process. If you get videotape of your game and you put in an advantage, I promise it will be coached. It may not be coached by a SERRS referee, but I will find someone in the United States to look at your match. And then the final thing, we are going to implement coaching feedback forms. So once you are coached, you will get a form and you will be able to provide feedback that hopefully will improve what we're doing. I don't know what that looks like because I realize if you have negative feedback and I'm sending the form for feedback, then I'm going to know who gave the negative feedback. So that might be counterproductive to the process. So if anybody has experience with this kind of thing and they have, I don't know, thoughts on how it would best be done, please reach out to me and let me know that. Does anybody have comments on those deliverables? Awesome. So just so you know, the coaches we have in our society, we have a handful of certified CMOs. That's a World Rugby program that people go through to be a coach of the match official. And then we will also be using senior referees to coach. We have plenty of people in SERRS who are more than qualified to be CMOs. They just they haven't ticked that box in the classroom. So that's the plan. Any questions there? Cool. When we're talking about coaches, you will see if a coach is assigned to your match. You can see that on Nigel's spreadsheet. Coaching is referee driven. That means you get out of it what you want to get out of it. It is your responsibility to reach out to the coach and let them know your game time. They're going to ask you for goals. That's also up to you to deliver those if you want to, or to tell them that's not your bag. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Moving along. This is a philosophy about refereeing that Richard has come up with and we're using for the WPL and the D1A. And you can read that for yourself. And I would just challenge you to sort of spend some time thinking about this and what it means to you. For me, it means we go into games and we identify clear and obvious infringements that will set fair standards, and we're applying materiality and effective advantage to really promote game flow rather than inserting ourselves and making a decision where one wasn't needed. So that's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it gives you a lot of food for thought. So now we're going to go through, Richard put together these really nice videos for D1A and WPL. And if it's possible, I will share those with you eventually. What I did was I took a bunch of different presentations we've put together throughout the last probably 3 or 4 months and pulled things out that I thought would make nice conversation pieces for our group moving into the fall season. So we're going to watch some videos, and also we all know videos don't come across all that well over over these streaming platforms. I think Zoom does a pretty good job of it, so you should be able to see what I'm trying to get you to see. I will also send this out later so that you can look at it on your own time. If you have a question, like a genuine question about something that I'm saying, or you don't understand the concept, please stop me. If you just want to tell me that you're seeing side entry when we're supposed to be looking at the poacher, we don't want to stop and talk about that. So does that make sense? Yes, awesome. All right, so at the breakdown, one of the primary things we want to do is set standards early and maintain them. What that means is when you start a match, in the first, let's say 10 minutes of that match, you don't play advantage when you see a penalty. You're going to just go ahead and blow the penalty so that everybody in the stadium is aware, like, okay, that was tackler not rolling away. If you play advantage for it, you miss the opportunity to show everyone what is not right. Second thing, don't overmanage. When you are a C3, inevitably a coach tells you, okay, you could have prevented this penalty by telling them not to do that. And that is true. Some things can be stopped. A lot of things, once it's happened, the ball is already slowed down enough that you should just blow the penalty. If you overmanage, if you're standing there at the ruck and you're saying, roll away, and you have to say that 2 or 3 times, and he finally rolls away. What's happened is the ball is slowed, the defense has a chance to reset and come up and reduce the space. So you're more likely to get knock-ons, you're more likely to get all kinds of other problems. Whereas if you'd have just blown the penalty instead of trying to manage, you'd have been in a better place. The final thing there at the breakdown, as far as the philosophy of refereeing the breakdown, is you want to raise expectations when the team is under pressure. So that means if blue is attacking and we're 5 meters from end goal, red is going to slow the ball. If they do slow that ball, then you need to be prepared to make the big decision and give them a card for it. All right, so moving along, quick ball at the breakdown. One thing that we're seeing a lot, and I think it has a lot to do with the new ruck laws and that ruck happening so quickly, tacklers are really laying around and trying to kill the ball. The other thing that they're doing is ending up on the wrong side of the ball, and they're doing that on purpose to stop the ruck from happening. They're also rolling into the players and taking the legs out, as well as interfering with the scrum half. So we want to make sure the tackle assist shows a clear release. And, you know, I don't want you to go out there and tell players, oh, you have to throw your hands in the air, because that's not it at all. We do want to see a clear release. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. They don't have to show you their hands, but there needs to be some separation, and they need to come through the gate. Same thing, arriving players. There's sort of a big one. What's happening? Attack players are sealing, and then what happens is the defense doesn't even counter ruck. So you want to eliminate sealing by the attack players. We'll have a few examples of this coming up and what that looks like. But it's very easy to say there was no counter ruck, so it doesn't matter that they sealed. But the truth is, because you were allowing the sealing, that's causing no counter rucks. All right, so let's see how well these come through here. So this is the penalty. This is where the tackler doesn't roll away and prevents the counter ruck, and we do not get quick ball. The referee is not going to blow a penalty for this, but he should have. So there's the tackle. You've got blue laying there. White can't get the ball. You can still see the blue player laying there at the bottom of that ruck. There's no way for white to play the ball. She's on the wrong side of the tackle. Referee in this situation actually blew an unplayable. And that's because it was something that he was working on, and he wanted to try and do that as a way of managing without a penalty. But at the end of the day, that was a pretty clear one. Do we want to see that again, or is everybody happy with that? I don't really know. Nobody's talking to me. Hopefully you're all still there.
It was pretty clear.
Okay, awesome. I tried to pick ones that were very clear. Cool. Oh, wait a minute. What are you doing now? See if we can get to the next slide. So in this instance, you'll see red tackle assist is not going to release. It's pretty clear, actually. Yeah, so the referee, and geez, come on, stop. The referee in that instance actually rewarded red. Can we go back? There we go. Don't start. Referee ends up rewarding the defense there, even though both the tackler and the tackle assist were all over that ball carrier. So that was a pretty tough one. Moving. All right, so this is the sealing. And this is what I was talking about, when the attacking team is sealing the ball off and then the defense chooses not to counter ruck. If that attacking player removes a defender in the act of going to ground, we want to play on. This guy, and you can see him, it's frozen right now just before he goes to ground. He's not removing anybody. He's just going to lay on that to seal it off so nobody can get that ball.
Amanda?
Yes. Hang on a second. Let me close this. This thing just keeps going on me. Let's see.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm a picture late, so can you go back 2 sets with the tackler's assist not releasing?
Okay, maybe my Mac is spinning on me here.
Joe, keep your comments to yourself.
Yeah, I can't even
should have
escape.
kicked you out of my place. So the question that I have is that it, in a similar instance, if the right hand of the tackler's assist actually what had released, but the left hand kind of just shifts along the body. He doesn't have a grip of the tackled player. Should that be considered the tackler's assist releasing, or is that still a non-release?
I would say at that point, go to what was the expected outcome of the situation and how close was the defense to the entire thing.
Okay.
So if there was a chance how close was the offensive player? Oh, come on, PowerPoint, what's up? How close was the person who was going to come into the ruck and counter for the ball, basically? And then decide whether or not you need to be strict on that release. First 10 minutes of the game, the answer is maybe yes. And as the game progresses, maybe no. What we don't want to do as referees is insert ourselves to the point where we are making decisions for the players, but we do want them to play within the law, if that makes any sense. So if you need a replay to see whether or not they released, they didn't release. Good?
Good for me.
All right, let's see. I'm not seeing presentation.
I think it's amazing.
So right there we see this, this thing will not pause for me. Let's see if we can go back. We see the red player go to ground. He doesn't remove the black player. He's simply sealing. We need to call that as sealing, diving the attack. See it? So pretty easy to say like, oh, they should have retained the ball. But what happens is the defense stops. All right, so this player's, so this guy did the same thing apparently. Landed on the ground, didn't remove. Let's watch this. So this is attack sealing off again. Fair enough. So this is doing it right here. So he goes to ground, but he had removed the white player that was standing in front of him. I know he didn't enter correctly, but he went to ground, removing the defender. Black goes to ground, but he did it while he was removing the blue player. So we're letting that play on. Does anybody have questions about that? Sort of splicing hairs, but okay. Okay, so when I was talking earlier about deciding the contest or allowing the contest, so what we're seeing is penalty counts are creeping up, especially with the new way the ruck is forming, I guess, now faster, everything's faster. And we're getting a lot of poaching, and so referees feel pressure to make decisions. So this is an example where you want to be paying attention because you can't reward the poacher by giving the ball carrier not releasing call if the tackler is still hanging on. Does that make sense? Let's watch this, you'll see it. Derek's gonna give the penalty for ball carrier not releasing. but you'll see the tackler still in the zone. Dave Edwards, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have anything you want to say to fill this dead space? Like how excited you are to be RDO?
No, I mean, just as Amanda's laying out, we are trying to make it feasible. We obviously know that attempts have been made in the past, and we do want to try and make an attempt that will be able to stick. So just in general, we are trying to take small steps, like she said, to make sure this is sustainable and at the same time be able to give people benefit as best as we can with the resources we have and the coaches we do have, and try to get everybody improving and also improving on the same playing field and trying to keep us in line so we don't have to make corrections or changes down the road. Someone who's getting coached at C4, C3, and then they come to C2, C1, and they're like, I really need to have this all switched up. That's, my coaches have been telling me something different. We're going to trying to get that minimized so we can have everybody across the board looking at the standard that we want to all try and achieve, knowing full well that some of these standards may be above everybody's head at certain points, but just saying, hey, this is what we're all aiming for, and so let's all be working towards that top goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, if there's terminology that I use that you don't understand, feel free to just stop me and say, hey, Amanda, what's a poacher? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And we're trying to, if we continually hold these meetings together and everybody gets the sense that, like, okay, this is a safe place and I'm not going to get made fun of for asking questions, like, we're all going to get better that much faster. So my PowerPoint's going to work for a second or two, and then it's probably going to crash on me again. But this is the example of where we don't want to award the penalty because the tackler is still hanging on. So it's a pretty clear ball carrier not releasing penalty until you realize the tackler there was still hanging on. And we're going to see it in slow motion here too. So just something to consider. All right.
Amanda.
Yes.
So that initial tackler, from the way I understand this last one, that initial tackler has to be completely out of there before a poacher can come in, even when there's no arriving players. Is that correct?
I would not say that the tackler has to be completely out of there if there are no arriving players.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I would say if the tackler is holding on to an ankle and the arriving players are far enough away, we should allow the poach. We want to allow the contest. You know, like when I say we want to allow the contest, we don't want to make decisions that are counterintuitive to the game of rugby.
Right.
Yeah, and so like I was watching a match last week, and the referee had probably 2 or 3 penalties for that exact thing, where the poacher was coming in and made a clean poach, but he calls the penalty for the tackler not rolling away. So that's deciding the contest for the players, really, at that point. If there's no, like, if there's not these other pieces to it, then we want, this is literally, don't call ball carrier not releasing, or don't call the poacher if the tackler is still in the zone. Like, I don't think I'm explaining this very well.
No, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I just didn't know if there was a tweak to kind of the way I'd been doing it. You know, if there's no arriving players and there's a tackler and a poacher and the poacher gets the ball, but there's no arriving players to, you know, in support.
Yeah.
To me, that's good defensive play to me, you know.
If the tackler has the ball carrier in like a body hold or a gator hold so he can't get the ball away, that's one thing.
Right.
Then you're going to call the tackler for not releasing. But if he's just got the guy around the ankle and the poacher's coming in, I'm just going to play on.
Yeah. Okay. You answered. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're all shades of gray.
Just one last thing on that. I think look at what the expected outcome should be, and then that helps in these sort of situations to know, and whether there's supporting players or non-supporting players or where the tackler's at. And especially like with this example, it is obviously a high level example with MLR. So the slight in this clip, the tackler being there just that little bit, because the players are all quick, it gave the defender that split second that he needed to get in first. Whereas if the tackler had been out, then his arriving support players, that extra second would have been beneficial to them to go ahead and clear out the guy trying to come in from the defense. So just be thinking about the expected outcome.
If the guy wasn't, if the tackler wasn't there full body, the support player in that clip would have been, and they would have retained possession. So I get that particular one. Yeah, I was just making sure there wasn't necessarily an adjustment to how I understood things today.
Right. I think.
Thanks.
Sure. So the next thing we're going to talk about is sort of a contextual awareness of what players do under pressure. So if they are getting forced back towards their end goal, what things the defense may do to cheat, to obtain the ball illegally. And if we have that sort of contextual awareness, then it changes how we see the game and can especially change how we referee. So something that you may not call in one place becomes a problem. So red slowed the ball here, 9's on the wrong side. Five doing the same thing.
Is the directive that you guys want a yellow card in this situation for the two not rollings within 5 meters?
Well, the referee is playing through these, and he's playing through these because it's going to be a controversial call. I don't know what the rest of his match looked like, so we can't really say, you know, he set the standard and therefore he could card for it. The problem with this clip is what happens is red has slowed the ball down 3 to 4 times, and blue is going to lose the ball here. So they lose the opportunity to score. But yes, what I am telling you is you do need to consider carding in situations like this. Also, because what happens, we have a tendency, because the way the game has changed in the last 3 to 5 years, like astronomically changed. So, 5 years ago, they would have told me, okay, blow the penalty, stop the match, talk to somebody. Well, if you do that now, you've destroyed Blue's scoring opportunity because you've slowed the game even further and given the defense more time to set up. So giving a card in a situation like that, if you were to call that penalty, it's not necessarily a bad thing, depending on what the rest of your game was shaped like. You might just give the penalty and they're going to tap and go and score. So that's something, each game is individual. Let's finish watching this clip real quick. So now we have turnover and Blues lost their opportunity. This next clip, this is a perfect example, and I'll just set the stage for this. This happened this weekend. This is a situation where a yellow card absolutely was appropriate. Leah had penalized Red, I think, 2 or 3 times for not rolling away. She'd given 3 total penalties, I think, for not rolling away. This is the 25th minute. Yeah, 3 total penalties, 2 against Red and 1 against Green. Green's attacking here. So there we've got 7 not rolling away, slowing the ball coming out. Leah sees it. She's playing advantage. Now watch 8, Red 8. Red 8 rolls away and takes out the feet of the ruckers as she goes out. So it's destroyed Green's opportunity. This absolutely should have been a yellow card. So does anybody have questions about that? The defense is under pressure. They are deliberately infringing. So based on the way your game has been shaped up until that point, you will probably consider a card. Now, but remember, when we card, everyone should know it's coming. So you should have had probably discussions, you know, you should have shaped the game in a way that people know what your expectations are. All right, let's see, how are we doing on time? We're all right. I won't go longer than an hour, I promise. We're getting pretty close, I think. So when we're talking about space and creating space, the more space that we can create, the better the game is going to be. In order to create space, we have to identify when we have slow ball. And when I say slow ball, that's when it takes a second for the ball to get to the back and a second for the scrum half to dig it out. If you wind up with like 4 seconds, you've got slow ball. The more slow ball we have, the more pressure the attacking team is under because they have less space. The defense is set. Usually, if we get slow ball, the defense starts creeping up. They take that extra step. They take another little step. They take another little step. We get less structured rugby because we have more handling errors. The less space there is, the more knock-ons there are going to be. So yeah, that's a problem. If we have slow ball, a lot of times it's because somebody's lying on the deck. Somebody's lying on the deck. Then what happens is other people come in from the sides. So we just have less structure in the ruck because of the ways they have to get in there. So when we're talking about facilitating quick ball, that would seem to be similar to identifying slow ball, but it's really not. Facilitating quick ball means you as a referee are positioning yourself in a place where if you are strong side, where the ball is coming out, the defense is not going to creep up. So you're helping create that space, if that makes sense. Another place we find problems is at the rucker maul, and we're going to go through all of those things, I think, with clips, so we won't talk about them. Oh, come on. So this is a legal screen. They're all bound and they're all left foot. See the binds, full binds. Everybody's behind the foot of the player in front of them. It's a legal screen. So that's fine. We like that. This one's illegal. This guy's not bound at all. See the arm? An arm does not constitute binding. The other guy's in front of the person who's behind him. Not bound. And yeah, that guy's in front of the last foot, also not bound. So pretty clear. We are seeing it domestically, pretty widely used. So be ready for that one. All right, this is just a picture here where you can see, this is what I'm talking about with the referee positioning himself so as to encourage our players to be in the right place. This referee is in the saddle. If he was a little bit further over here, he would be able to see pretty clearly there's a blue line there where the fist of the red player is. That's the last foot of the ruck. All of those players are in front of it. Does anybody have questions about that? Pretty clear. All right, that's all. Look at that. Oh man, I'm a rock star. We got through that in like 40 minutes. So cool. SIP reminder, make sure you go to USA Rugby and take all of your things and do all of the stuff and be resipped so you can be awesome with SERRS. Anybody have questions?